Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am making another fall recipe and I am making a sourdough pumpkin loaf or pumpkin bread that I found on King Arthur Flour's website, kingarthurbaking.com. I'll link the recipe that I use down below. But yeah, I've never made sourdough pumpkin bread before. Looking at the ingredients, it's not a true sourdough, as in like the sourdough starter is not the thing that like leavens the dough. It's actually the baking soda, the baking powder. But I have sourdough starter, so why not use it? And yeah, again, I'll have everything linked down below. Let's just get started. Something I really love about King Arthur recipes is they're almost always cup measurements and like weight measurements, and I have a scale and I just love that they have both in the recipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my scale. The first thing I need to do though is preheat the oven to 350. Now starting with your large bowl, we are going to weigh 67 grams of vegetable oil. I'm just using coconut oil today. Perfect. I feel like whenever I say perfect after measuring something, something bad happens. So maybe I should stop saying perfect. 99 grams of sugar. $85 grams of molasses. Put on my apron so my sweater doesn't get messy. And then 2 eggs. One thing I find sort of irritating about baking with pumpkin is that almost never does a recipe call for a whole can of pumpkin. It's always like a half of a can of pumpkin. So this can has 425 grams of pumpkin, and this recipe calls for 227 grams. It's like half of this, which is kind of annoying because you don't use pumpkin on a day-to-day basis. So I don't really know what I'm gonna use with a half a can of pumpkin. I'm actually gonna set that aside and mix my dry ingredients next. So my whisk, I don't have to clean my whisk. So for the dry ingredients, you need 241 grams or 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Three-quarter teaspoons of salt. Now here's where I'm gonna switch it up a little bit because I don't actually have ground ginger, cloves, or nutmeg. All I have is cinnamon and some fresh ginger, so I'm actually gonna grate some fresh ginger into the wet ingredients and then just like double, triple up on the cinnamon. And then it calls for half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a whole tablespoon of cinnamon because I like cinnamon. And I don't have the other spices that it calls for. So here's to hoping for the best. And then half a teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. Go ahead and mix that up. Okay, now that that's all mixed up, we can go back to our wet ingredients. Okay, now to add the sourdough discard. This is sourdough starter that needs to be fed, so it's kind of liquidy and not bubbly. So you need 170 grams of sourdough starter. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but I recently got this vanilla bean paste from Trader Joe's, so I want to try to use it in this today. If I can figure out how to open it. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. I just need a teaspoon of this vanilla bean paste. Now I'm just going to combine the dry with the wet. I'm going to do it in 2 parts. This recipe also calls for adding walnuts and raisins, but I'm just gonna leave it as it is because we don't have any raisins and I don't really feel like adding walnuts, to be honest. And so now I just need to grease my loaf pan. It wants you to use a 5x9, I think. Yeah, a 9x5 loaf pan. All I have is a 4.5 by 8.5, so it might be a little tall on top, but that's okay. I'm just gonna grease it with the rest of this coconut oil. I'm also gonna add just a little bit of parchment paper so it's easier to take out once it's all done. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this in with a spatula. Okay, now this is going into the oven at 350 for about an hour. Okay, so now that this is out of the oven, we need to let it cool for 15 minutes in the pan, and then after 15 minutes, I'll lift it out and just let it cool completely on this rack. Also, don't mind my other sourdough loaf that I baked this morning. I'll link my video about sourdough right here if you want to watch, but yeah, she's hanging out over there too. Okay, well, now we have to complete the excruciating task of waiting for this to fully cool before we can slice into it and eat it. So I'll check back in with you when I've lost my willpower. Which piece do you want?
That
This
one.
big one? You want butter on it?
No thanks.
Doesn't this smell like a cinnamon bun?
All a pumpkin bomb.
You like it? It's really good with butter.
Did you make it less sweet?
Mm-mm.
One birthday, 2 followers.
I'm gonna call for a half a cup of sugar. But pour a cup of molasses. It doesn't taste sourdoughy. I think it just takes like the edge off the sweet. What'd you say?
Yeah, I agree.